An SLP Impact member recently asked us if we could provide some information about what is the difference between a cue and a prompt. Are they the same? Are they different? Well, I think that in our field, we often use those terms interchangeably, though they are actually quite different and they have different impact when we talk about collecting data and measuring progress because they are very different levels of support for students. So, in terms of a definition, cues give hints that help students arrive at an answer. Prompts lead students to the answer. So, prompts are heavier, they provide more information. The Texas Education Agency put together some information about visual, tactile, and auditory verbal prompts and cues to share. Now, this is more focused on their state assessment, the STAR test, but we've put some information together that's relevant for speech language pathologists using similar guidelines. So, in terms of visual cues for speech therapy, it might mean highlighting text or color coding text, using pictures to clarify meaning for students, maybe using objects as to help students visualize problems, or different objects and shapes to represent the different parts of the speech. Color coding of communication boards is something that we often do, which is a cue to, is this an action word? Is this a noun? On the other hand, prompts, visual prompts, include visual displays of each step required, possibly a picture of the answer, an object that represents the answer. And then we have tactile cues, which can be pointing to a prompt for participation. It can be tapping syllables. It can be touching the student's arm to prompt them to start a task. Whereas a prompt, a tactile prompt, would be hand over hand assistance to create a sign, to move the student's hand to a particular square on an augmentative communication board, pointing to correct answers, things like that would be considered prompts. Now, auditory verbal cues would include things like a repetition of the instructions or a reminder to take a breath, focus, take your time. Encouragement to keep working would be a verbal cue. On the other hand, a verbal prompt would be step-by-step directives to help a student get all the way through a task, specific instructions about which picture to select, or perhaps even saying the answer out aloud for the student to repeat it. So those would be examples of auditory or verbal prompts. We created this nice little tool for you to download. You can go to the resource library at bilinguistics.com and download this to have it there for your sessions or for your meetings, your IEP meetings. You can take this in to provide information for the advocates in the room and others who are interested in knowing what the difference is between a cue and a prompt.